Hello everybody, this is Steve, your everyday guy here with my latest video for my auto segments. Today we're going to discuss how to recharge the air conditioning on 2014 Buick Enclave. But before we do that, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button, and don't forget to watch to the end, because at the end I'm going to discuss the tools that I used in today's video. But before we do all that, let's watch this intro. Hello everybody, Steve, your everyday guy here, and it is in July and the heat of summer has hit. And if you're like me, your AC is not blowing out near as cool in your vehicle as it used to. So it's time for me to get out my gauges and do some recharging. To do this, I'm going to use a set of AC gauges, and then I've also got my can tap, and then I've got a AC stop leak. This also puts dye into the line, so if I do actually have a leak, they'll be able to see it next time I get my oil changed. And last but not least, I have my refrigerant that I'm going to put into the line. Now you'll go to the store and you'll see the cans that have the hose built into it, which is great for a lot of vehicles. Unfortunately, on the Buick Enclave, that hose is not long enough, and the reason is that when you come over here, this is your high side, but what you got to add the freon to, or the coolant to, is to the low side, which is all the way down at the bottom. I'm going to show a picture, that way you kind of have a rough idea where it is. The really frustrating thing is you can't see it. You kind of got to get down there with your hands to use it. When you're doing that, make sure and wear gloves. And the reason is that when refrigerant comes out, as it comes out into gas, it can burn you because it comes out so cold. You actually get a freezer burn. You can end up with frostbite. So make sure you're wearing gloves. That way you don't do it. That way you don't have to worry about any frostbite. The other thing you're going to need to know is you're going to need to know the temperature and at what pressure the coolant needs to be at that temperature. That way you don't overfill. You put too much coolant into your system, first of all, it won't cool. Second of all, it can do damage to your system, so make sure you're doing it properly. If it's one of those things where if you don't know what properly is, pay the money to have it. Now, if you're feeling a little bit more of interest, or if you've done it before, maybe on a different vehicle but not a Buick, this will be a great video for you, kind of give you an idea of what all is involved. And with that, let's get to it. One of the few things that I actually dislike about the 2014 Buick Enclave is where they've located that nipple for the low AC. And the reason is that it is way down near the engine block of the vehicle. You can't reach it with your typical AC Pro or your Easy Chill self tune-ups. That's why for me I had to get those gauges that you'd use like if you're a mechanic. If you look in the picture, you'll see that little green square almost in the middle of the picture. That is where the nipple is located, to kind of give you an idea of where we're looking at. At the top, you can just barely see the oil cap that I have labeled. And then there's the radiator. This is over on the left side of the vehicle. You can see the left side of the frame there. As we move to the next picture, we'll get a better look at exactly where that nipple is. What you're looking at in this picture is it from the side where we can actually get a view of what the nipple looks like. In picture one, you'll see the radiator that's there on the left side. If you look into the green box, you can barely make out that nipple that's there. And if you look at picture two, that's zoomed in about the area of what that green box in picture one is. There you can see the nipple cap. And if you look over at picture three, that's a close-up of what the nipple cap looks out. So if you kind of go back over to picture one, you see how small that is. You can really get an idea of how low that is. Looking down from the top, you'll notice it's the same level as the oil filter. You'll see here where I am removing the cap. I'm using bare fingers to do it so I don't accidentally drop the cap. Once I have the cap removed, I put my gloves on and I grab my adapter for my AC and I go ahead and I attach that there. You'll notice there's not room for me to get two hands down there, so it gets really tricky and you have to do it with one hand. For this step, be sure and wear gloves just in case you accidentally vent some AC. You do not get... Oh hey, I was just getting everything hooked up. So I've got the blue line hooked up, which is the low side. I tried to take a picture as best I could, but that picture you saw earlier is about as good as I can get. So what we've done is we got the blue line, which is the low side, hooked up. The next thing we do is we're going to go ahead and put the high side, and the high side, as I told you, is right here. I've got some steps nailed up here, so let me kind of get that situated. Make sure you don't lose these taps because they are important for keeping debris out of the system and keeping the nipple clean. So we're going to put that right onto there. This is not the strongest of hoses, so you put that on. So now what we've got going on here, as you can see, I've got it running. You want to make sure the car's running for about 5 minutes to really get an idea of what the pressures are. And so right now, I'm looking at my pressures. They're a little low, so I'm going to go start adding. What I've done is I have added my stop leak in here first, because I want to make sure I get the full can. And so now we've got everything hooked up, we're simply going to open up the valve. Now this system does take quite a bit, so I know from past experience it's going to need more than just this one can. So normally I kind of do it like count of 10, 5, count of 10. What I'm doing right there is I'm watching this go through, and you'll notice I'm also shaking the bottle back and forth. That way I make sure it's coming out. So now it feels pretty empty, like I've gotten to the bottom of it, so I'm going to go ahead and turn that off. Let the bottle cool down a little bit. I'm going to open it back up. Alright, looks like I got a little bit more in there. And that's it. So this bottle is empty. Didn't really take it up a whole lot. The reason is my system is pretty low. I believe this is a 6-pound system to begin with. And each one of these big cans I've got right here, that's a 1-pound can. So 6 of those would total go in there. One thing I always recommend is keep some rags around. The reason is this has the dye in it. You can see the rags gone all over. That's also why you want to wear gloves, because that was cool air escaping that could have gotten in there. Alright. So, I'm toss that in the trash, so I can throw that in the trash can as soon as I'm done here. Next we're going to put on the coolant. I'll get that started on there. And as I was saying, that's why you wear gloves. Because if that's not on there tight, that would give me frostbite. Good news is I'm wearing gloves and it saved me. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and open up that valve. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we're going to close and see where our pressures are at. Alright, my pressures went up about 5 pounds. That's good. So now we're going to open it up, and I'm going to count for another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I'm going to close it. And check my pressures again. Alright, good. Looks like I'm up 8 pounds when I started. The other thing is right there in that window, you want to keep an eye on that. So I want to make sure that my stuff's still flowing in. Alright, looks like I'm getting a leak there. Looks like that's coming out of my coolant. So I'm just going to take that off while I refit that hose. Don't want to let that evaporate into the atmosphere. They say it's bad for it. I'll take their word. Now we're going to put the can back on. Alright, I've got that pressure back on there. And we're going to open it up. 2, 3, 4. This can I'm going to let go all the way to the end. I'm watching it go through my little viewfinder. That way once the viewfinder goes empty, turn that over here. See if maybe we can get a little bit of what the viewfinder looks like on that. You can see it kind of splashing through there. I think we kind of evened out. So we'll close that back up. Alright. That got us up to about 15 pounds more PSI when we started. And when we started, we were about 35 below. So next, we're going to take our second can. And I'm wondering if I'm actually going to need a third, but I want about 2. Alright, so now we're going to open this up. 2, 3, 4, 5. Turn that back around there and see if you can see a little bit better motion going on through there when we got a full can. Alright, so we've let that go quite a bit. We're going to close up that valve. And hey, we are getting pretty close. Let's go ahead and let's do some more. 4, 5, 6. Let's close that up. And we're up 20 pounds from where we started. So let's go ahead. Let's do that some more. Keep an eye on that gauge, making sure we got plenty going through. And we're going to close. That gives me into 6 pounds from where I want to be. Alright, we're going to close that up. Alright, keep that running. Close that. All right, we are within 5 pounds of my target. All right, I think we've gotten to the end of the can. And that puts us within the cooling range of what my vehicle suggests. So all that's left is to unhook everything. I'm going to let it run just a little bit to kind of get it all circulating, but as you can see, it's overall not all that difficult. The one thing is you want to make sure that you are 100% checking those gauges and make sure those gauges are reading correctly. The other thing is that if you're having to add this too often, take it in, you've got a leak on your hose and you need to get that fixed. As you saw earlier in the video, the standard do-it-yourself charging kits that you get at your AutoZone or even Walmart, those hoses are going to be too short. So what I do is I've got these AC hoses that I purchased from Harbor Freight. Right now they're currently $64.99, very inexpensive. I've used these maybe 3 or 4 times already, and I think I've definitely got my money's worth, and they're still running strong. I know I'm going to get even more use out of them. One thing they don't include is the can adapter, which you'll have to purchase separately. You can get those from Walmart, from AutoZone, any place like that. The one thing I will tell you about these is these are kind of single-use can taps. I tried to use one time the next year, and I found out that I actually couldn't, that it somehow got clogged up, so I had to purchase another one. So I've just gotten in the habit of purchasing one every time I purchase my coolant to ensure that I've got a good fit. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. That way in the future, if I know you're enjoying doing these, I will do more of these videos. And also, I love to hear your comments. Please comment below if you have any questions, comments. I like to hear from you. I try to get back to you. This is Steve, your Everyday Guy. Thanks for tuning in to my video, and I'll catch you on the next one.